Hello Internet, and welcome to this channel to see together what are the new features in 2.1 of Advanced Themer. There are a lot to cover today because there are new features like the Variable Manager, the Structure Helper, new shortcuts for CSS, and a lot of stuff that I will cover. Let's just start right now, and I'm going to start with the new Variable Manager. So this is like the color manager or the class manager that has been introduced in the past, but to manage your CSS variables. So to do that, you have to go in the theme settings. Let's go to the builder tweaks. In top bar, you will see a new option here, Variable Manager. Just apply it and save settings. Let's go back in the builder and refresh. Once it's activated, you will see a new icon here, CSS Variable Manager. If you open it, you will see a new model. In this menu, the model, you will see, like the color manager, if you're used to, a drop down with your categories. These categories are the categories set for my global variables set on the theme settings. If I come back to the theme settings and I go to my CSS variables, you see I have typography, spacing, border, etc. applied because I enabled it in this menu. If I disable typography, spacing, for example, there won't be these items inside the drop down we just saw before. Let's come back here, so we can easily jump from a category to another. And of course, you'll see beside the drop down all the variable sets. So, for example, if I'm in typography here, we see my font H1, font H2, font H3. Let's just start by make it larger, so we see it on one row. And all these variables correspond to the variable set here. So if I re-enable typography, my font H1 has been set on the theme settings, and you see that all these values are reflected inside my dropdown. But you see this kind of opacity, right? In fact, you can't modify global variables because they stay just like they were before inside the theme settings, right? So there is a distinction that need to be done from now on. Is the variable set inside theme settings are corresponding to the global variables. These variables will apply on your whole site, on all the pages, on the posts, on the archive, etc. They will be enqueued on all your website. And this, it can't be modified in a page. You have to modify it in the theme settings, right? The reason there is an opacity is you can't modify it. If I click it, I can't rename, I can't do anything. But I can see which are my global variables and the value that correspond to each variable. I have the option, since I can't modify inside the builder, I also have an option to hide the global variables. And you will see it can be useful because we are now introducing the theme variable. To enable the theme variable, which I will explain how it works in a moment, you just have to go in CSS variables, general, and there is now a new item theme variables here. Once you enable it, you see a new tab, theme variables, and let's just take a moment to read what it's written here. The theme variables are CSS variables attached to a specific theme style. Okay, just to make sure that I'm referring to the theme style set inside the builder. Let's go in settings, and you see we have a theme style here, and you can create different theme styles here, right? You can create new one, edit, etc. So basically the theme variables are attached to each specific theme. Okay, let's go on. They are managed directly inside the builder through the variable manager, the one that I just showed earlier. The theme variables have more specificity compared to the global variables. It means you can easily override any global variable by a theme variable. Okay, so if you set your your global variables, you can override them by a theme variable. Since the theme variables are integrated inside each specific theme style, it results that you can set different variable values for different theme styles. Okay, so each theme style can have different theme variables. They are attached to each one. So if you decide to set a value, I don't know, a specific spacing for one theme, you can set a different one for another theme. I will show you in a moment. I'm just reading the global definition of a theme variable. The theme variables are imported and exported alongside with the theme style settings using the Bricks core function inside the builder. So if you already know about the theme style, if you do edit here, you see that you have an export function. So you can export all your theme styles, and from now on all your theme variables will be exported inside the theme. And the same goes with the import function of Bricks. You will be able to import the variables through the theme styles JSON file. Let's continue. Just like the global variables, the theme variables require Advanced Themer to be activated in order for the variables to be correctly enqueued on your website. So if you plan to use Advanced Themer only for the builder tricks and plan to disable the plugin after the build, it's not recommended to enable this option as it could potentially break your design. So in order to use the theme variables, you need Advanced Themer, because it's Advanced Themer that manage these variables. They don't exist inside Bricks, and it's all managed by the plugin. Okay, so if you decide the second time to switch it off, all the theme variables will be off too, and that potentially will break your website. As a general rule, this is really important. This is where I want to go. As a general rule, use the global variables for values that will hardly change from one side to another and can be set one time, like a variable blueprint or a framework. So from now on, all these values inside the theme settings, which are now considered global variables, are those variables that will probably most likely be the same values from one side to another. Let's say you create I make an example, but if you create a custom variable and you will call it hidden, right, and you will use a value, sorry, I'm in category, but let's say hidden, and the property will be hidden. Okay, you won't never change these variables, right? Hidden will stay hidden. You won't make it visible. Okay, otherwise we'll probably create another variable. So create variables inside the global theme settings. Sorry, for values that won't change from. Sorry, I'm still a bit sick, but I'm okay. So set the global variables that won't change from one side to another. because you probably don't want to go back and forth from the back end to the front end just to change your variables. Now you can do that inside the builder with the variable manager that I will show you in a moment. Use the theme variables for variables that are highly design dependent. Or if you simply want to avoid back and forth with the backend theme settings, to change your variables values and manage all your settings inside the builder. Okay, so we have two types of variables. Like you have two types of custom CSS. You have in Bricks, if you go to settings, let's go there for a moment. If you go in custom code, you have global custom CSS. These CSS will apply on all your websites. And then if you come back on your the builder and go in settings, page settings, custom code, this custom code will apply only on the page. So it has two different level of custom CSS. This is the same things for variables. One is for global variables that will apply on all your website. The other ones will be attached to your theme and can be managed and changed inside the builder. Okay, once that said, let's come back to the theme settings and make sure the theme variable is actually enabled, save settings. And once done, we can refresh the builder. So in order for the theme variables to work, you need to make sure that at least one theme style is activated. Otherwise, it won't work without a theme style, but you already know that. Okay, let's open the variable. And now the manager, the variable manager, and you see in my default category, which is border, which come from the global variables, we have now one tab, which is global variables. This is where I set a variable in the theme settings. And we have a theme variable. Okay, let's delete this because I created before. But now we have the possibility to add a new theme variable. So let's create a border theme, for example. Like this. Can do it. Enter, and you see we created. Let's enlarge it more. We create the border theme variable. You have two options to set the value. You have the static value, which is the default, and you can write 1 pixel solid red, for example, for my border. But you can also change from static to fluid or clamp just by clicking this button here. If you click here, it will change to a clamp function, and you can set the first one, the minimum value, which will apply on the smaller devices, and the maximum value, which will apply on your desktop and higher. Okay, so if you enter this in pixels, but if you write 10 and 20, for example, the script will automatically create a clamp function using rem, and so it's absolutely accessible. Okay, this is the difference from the global and theme variables, and since you can't manage the global variables here, it makes sense to hide global variables if you are not willing to see them and just edit the current theme variables. You can of course create any new category. So you see, you can delete or rename a category that comes from the global settings. This one you have to manage them from the backend, but you can manage the theme one, creating a new category. Let's say, I don't know, colors. Enter, and now I have my new category, colors, here. And I can start adding, let's say red, and say red, and say green, and say green. Okay? So the basic stuff from the color manager are here too. Let's say blue, and say blue. Okay? You can, of course, reorder. You can multiple reorder by selecting here, and it will group, but it will reorder by groups. You can duplicate variable. Okay. You can rename it. This is an input. You can just select and say blue 2, for example. Okay. Enter to rename. And you can delete a variable with a two-step confirmation. What can you do? You can add variables. This is important. You can import variables from a list. If you click on this icon, code icon, you will have a text area where you can pass your list. So let's just make a test. I will import the values from bricks. So let's say we are in color, so we can, of course, copy these colors right here. It will duplicate them, but there is no problem for that. Just pass them, import variables, and we'll see all our variables have been imported from the list. And of course, you can modify, you can rename, and you can do all the stuff that we did before. Okay, there's one thing I want to show you too, is the duplicate the category from the theme variable. So for example, typography, I don't have theme variables here. I only have global variables. But let's say, okay, from now on, I don't want to mess with the theme settings anymore. I want to manage my values in the as theme variables. Okay, so I want to convert these global variables in theme variables. There is an easy way to do this, and is to duplicate the section, the category. Let's duplicate it. And you see it created typography copy category. And now all the variables are now in theme variables. So I can just maybe save it. It will be saved. Sorry. And I can now disable my typography category from the global settings. And from now on, I can edit my values from the builder. I can change the clamp, and I can do everything like before. Okay, so of course, what I want to show you is these values are, of course, integrated with other function of Advanced Themer. So if you go in any, let's say, heading, and I want to, let's first create a new, my custom font, and I will say 20 pixel, for example. Oh, by the way, you see that there is a drop down, a suggestion drop down here, because you can nest variables inside other ones. And I did an example here. For example, I think I did theme variables for spacing that I created inside the builder, and then I created a section category where my section padding vertical is referring to a variable that we created in the spacing. Okay, so if tomorrow I want to change all the padding, the vertical padding of all my section on the site, I don't want to go one by one and change the variables assigned in each section. I can just change the value of section padding vertical, and I can still use another variables. Okay, so it's absolutely integrate the nesting variables. You also see that we have this little icon. If you already use the color manager, it's the same ID that this variable is actually used on this page. And it's used on my theme styles, I believe, because if I go to section, I put my here my padding vertical here. Okay, I believe it's everything. Oh no, I was saying it's integrated. So I created my custom font, right? Let's double check my custom font. Okay, and I will say pixel for now. Now, if I go to here and I digit my custom font, we see that it has been created correctly. So the variable manager is integrated with the suggested drop-down. It's also integrated in advanced CSS. So if I say my custom, let's make color, and my custom font, it's here, suggested in advanced CSS. Let's also see the SuperPower CSS. So if I say, let's just create root, color, and my custom font, you'll see it's also integrated here. And of course, the variable picker. So if I go in layout, click with, you see that the variable picker slightly changed, and I will cover it now. But if we go in the bottom, you see our typography copy section. So of course I can rename it. We have our custom font that is 16 pixels. And you can change it, of course. Let me review now the few changes of the color picker. So you see that the style slightly changed. It's more, it's a little bit refreshed compared to the old version. And there are basically three things I want to cover. You see now we have an icon alongside with the, the variable category. And this is the shortcut to open the variable manager in this specific section. So if I click right alongside spacing and I click show in CSS Variable Manager, you'll see that it selected spacing and I can see all my variables and the values from this specific category. Okay, let's go back to the color picker. The second thing I want to tell you is on the theme variables, you'll see a little small indicator, a green one. This little indicator here, that means it's a variable created inside your variable manager. If there is no indicator, it means that it comes from your global variables. Your global variables, by the way, let's just come back here just a second, can come from these categories, but also from of course custom variables, but also from your custom framework that you can import. It can come from the custom filter that is available in Advanced Themer if you want to manually code using a PHP filter. You can import your variables like this. So all these ways to import global variables are considered global, as opposed to the theme variable that are only created from the builder. Okay, the third thing, of course, I want to show you is this new icon here, add a new theme variable. So you can create now your variable from directly from the variable picker. So let's say you created your global variables, but you say, no, for this specific section, I want to create my specific variable. So I will click on add a new theme variable. It will create an input. I will say new border, click enter, and you see that the new border has been correctly applied to my control. And also it opened the variable manager in the border category. It created my new border variable, and it's already selected here, so I can put the value, and I can say to pixel solid red. Of course it won't apply because I'm in minimum width, and this is not compatible, but of course it would work. Okay, so I covered the variable picker. One thing I want to show you, just since we are speaking about variables, now the dynamic suggestion dropdown, the suggested dropdown is dynamic. This is what I wanted to say. And so you can open your advanced CSS, and for example, I will create a new variable here that I will call hello max, the value test. And now if I go in any input and I search hello max, I will see my hello max value. So if you want, you can create variables from the advanced CSS and it will reflect here, but it will also, of course, reflect here. Hello max in the custom CSS, in the SuperPower CSS. Okay, let's just go back in the changelog to see if I covered everything I wanted from the variable manager. Yes, so this is it. This is the first version, of course. I plan to add more stuff to the variable manager, like creating scales, fluid typographies, and do things like the color manager. But for now, this is the first version where you can create your variables inside the builder and manage them easily. Okay, let's move on. The second big news from this update is the color manager version 2. So if you are not aware of what is the color manager, it can be activated in the builder tweaks, just global settings, and if you enable global colors, you will have in the builder, inside the builder, the color manager that can be opened from here. I deleted all the categories and all the palettes just to be able to create one and show you the news. Let's create a new palette. New palette. Okay, and let's just create primary. And let's select our color. For example, this one. The first news I want to show you is now you can create complementary colors. So complementary colors, if you are new to the color theory, the colors are a hue and they are distributed inside the hue, and the complementary colors, the pure complementary color is the opposite, 180 degree from the actual colors on the hue palette. And you can do that by just clicking generate complementary color, and like you do with the shades, you choose the base name and you can select your scheme. So this is a complementary, and this color, the orange one, is exactly the opposite one of the blue one on the hue color wheel. But you have a lot of different schemes. You can create the split complementary, which would create two, which would be a triangle on the hue, the perfect triad, the tetrade, which would be then 4 colors. All these colors, according to the color theory, are a good match between them. Okay, you can't really go wrong if you choose these colors. They are complementaries. So if you want to create a palette from the builder, you can do that. These are perfectly complementary colors from your primary. I want to create only two, so I'm going to make the split and generate colors. You see, it will let's rename just because we want secondary and enter and probably action, this one. Okay, so we create our complementary colors. Let's jump on the second one, which is the generate shades. A lot of attention on this one has been made in 2.1. Let's click on this, and you see it's slightly different than before. Before, you have only the custom scale where you had to choose and change HSL and change your your lightness value to create light and dark shades. Now we have an auto shade option, and I think it's pretty straightforward. So if you want to generate light shade, you have to enable this option. The same goes to dark shades, and the same goes to transparent shades. So I'm not sure. Okay, I have an issue. Let's go back here, see if it works. No, I have an issue. I probably will check before releasing. Normally these options can be disabled. I don't know why. Anyway, you can create, of course, a number of shades that you want. Let's say 10 shades for all the categories. So the first one is the light shade, the dark shades, and the transparent shade. Generate shades, and you see automatically all our shades are created for the light versions, the dark versions, and the transparent version for primary. And you see that we have now, the big news is all these shades are now related to the parent, to the primary color. And this is why we have an icon here where we can hide shades, because these shades are now part of the primary color. And so we can collapse and see them. They are related through them. So if I change the primary color and I choose a red one, you'll see that all my shades will be transformed according to the primary color. And this can be done at any time. I just have to change this and all my colors will change. But I can also decide to unlink a specific shade. Let's say I don't want to change the second shade, light shade here. I can click unlink to parent color. And if I change the parent color now to red or pink, you see that my primary L2 hasn't changed. So you can link and unlink any color from the parent. If they are linked, of course, and I change the value again, it will reflect from the parent color. But if I'm happy with some shade, I can just unlink and choose to, I want this shade here, I want this one, and if I change the primary or any other color, this won't change anymore. Okay, I think it's pretty straightforward. You understood. So right now it's really easy to create shades, right? So let's just create now. For secondary, generate shades. I will, and the same thing for action, generate shades. And I created 30 shades per color, so 90 colors in 10 seconds. Okay, in action, secondary, and primary. Perfect. This is a new way, and of course you can still use the. Something really important. You can generate shades just one time per primary. So once you generate, we already generated the light shade, the dark shades, and the transparent shades. You won't be able to generate another set of light shades, dark shades, or transparent shades before you delete the actual shades. So if I want to generate new light shades, let's say, I will have to open this, delete my light shades. Let's do this really quick. Okay, and now if I open the generate shade menu, I will be able to generate light shades again. And let's say 6 for this time. Generate shades. And it will create my 6 new light shades. This is important. And if we open the generate shade, you can still use the custom scales like before. So you can create custom scales. This didn't change. Apply your number of shades and create your shades. Let's create this one, for example. This scale has been created. If I reopen generate shades, you'll see I can't create another one. A custom scale has already been generated for this color. Remove the existing scale to generate new ones. Okay? It's also important that since all these shades are linked together, if I rename the parent and I say secondary, or let's say primary 2, maybe primary max, and click enter, all my shades are renamed primary max. Okay, let's come back to primary. You don't have to rename one by one. The same thing if you delete the parent color, let's delete it. All the shades are deleted too. Don't have to delete one by one. Okay. Okay, let's jump on another new feature from the version 2. Is the auto dark mode. So let's see for secondary, we have this red one. If we switch to light mode, to dark mode, sorry, you see first of all that all our shades are automatically converted for dark mode. Okay, so the light one becomes dark, the dark one becomes light, and the transparent, of course, doesn't change. And I have a new option, convert to dark color. If I click on it, so let's say it's not really clear here, but let's change this one. Let's make it super light. Okay, this one, for example. All my shade will change. I come back to the dark. You see that all my shades are automatically dark moded, but not the parent one, because the parent one, you may want to decide which color you need, okay? But you have an option here to convert to dark color. If I click on it, automatically this will be the same color applied to dark according to the lightness degree of the color. So if we have a really light color as primary, it will become a dark one, and so on. You understand what I mean, even if I wasn't really clear, but yeah, you get what I mean. Okay, there is a new option here, disable a palette. So for example, let's just assign a color to these headings. I have a class. I'm going to assign, let's make this one, for example, okay? And at this point, we will also add a little background, just so you see. And we'll make really light. Okay, let's change it here. Sorry, not in the variable, color manager. Okay, we set action, so probably it will reflect this one is active on the page and this one is active on the page. Let's make a test, right? Oh, sorry, I set it in the dark mode, but it's not a problem. Yeah, let's change it. Just I want to see the light mode for now. So let's change this, and let's change now the light shade for all, and for the typography. Let's make it more dark like this. Okay. Now let's change our parent to see if it correctly applies. So if I change my parent, or I change my color here, I just have to wait it refresh and it will apply on the side. And you see that the shade are correctly assigned. So we are still our dark header and our light background, even if I change the hue. Okay. Let's do like this. And what I wanted to do, of course, the dark mode works. Okay, I wanted to show you the disable palette. If I disable my palette, all the colors generated from the color manager will be disabled. So you see, you don't see any color. So you can, at any time, you can enable, disable palette. And it makes sense if you want to test different palettes, have the same variable name, and see which one works. So if we, for example, if we duplicate, and I'm going to change my action here, and I will make it red. I believe this should work. Okay, if I disable this, no, maybe it's not the correct one. Not sure what I'm doing. I'm doing, of course, something wrong, but I don't know what. Oh, see, yes, it worked. So I can disable this and see. Sorry, I'm going to re-enable this one. Okay, and if I switch, I can see the difference between the headers. Okay, just by disabling and enabling a palette. Okay, let's just jump on the changelog and see if I covered everything. Complementary color generator. Okay, the last thing I didn't cover is the import. Let's delete everything here. Sorry, let's delete this and my new palette. Let's delete the secondary and action. Okay, everything. Let's go back to the variable from bricks. That's what's useful. This one. Okay, let's copy and reopen the color manager. Import CSS variable from a list. I'm going to pass them import colors. And you see that all our colors have been imported here in our new palette. So you can easily import colors into your palette from a variable list. Okay. So enable the, okay, I think I covered everything from here. I'm going to cover now the structure panel helper. This is a new feature from 2.1 that need to be enabled. So we have to go in Builder Tricks, Structure Panel, and now we have a new option which is called Structure Helper. Make sure it's enabled. It's already enabled here, and it will create this new icon on the top. Open Structure Helper. Let's click on it. Let's get rid of the console logs. Okay, what's going on here? We have a list of filters, let's call them like that, and we have our structure here. The thing is, let's close it for a moment. We have already some indicators. So for example, this is an indicator that there is a global class on it. If I insert something on the ID level, it will create an indicator for the ID level styles. Okay, these are some indicators. But now with the structure helper, we have tons of indicators. Let's just cover the categories. We can check whether they have a custom ID. They have at least one custom class. The custom class, by the way, is not a global class. The custom class comes from this field that you can you can enter custom classes that are not global classes. Okay, just to make sure we mean the same thing. So elements with at least one custom class with data attributes, elements that are wrapped inside a link, or elements with a custom HTML tag. So these are just the general categories. And of course, there are a lot of other filter values. So you can filter with element that has styles on the ID, just like in the structure panel. But you can now filter the one that have custom CSS styles, that have pseudo classes or states. So you have no way from the structure panel here to know which elements have an over style or an after style. There is no way to see it. Now you just have to input the structure, click on this one, for example. Maybe there is nothing. Let's just create one. Okay, let's go in this one. Let's create an over effect, for example. And let's say width 100. It will completely ruin the design, but it doesn't matter. So if we click on the pseudo class state elements with pseudo class and state styles, you see that now, sorry, in our structure, it's highlighted, and I can click on it, and it will open the correct element where my overstate is. And I can see that if I go to layout, I have my width 100, and I can delete it. Okay, so it's a structure highlighter, and it will spare you a lot of time, because there are things really interesting. One example, I won't review everything, but just to cover them, there are elements for global classes, for interaction, which elements have specific interaction, specific conditions apply to it, specific query loops, and then we have some news that I believe it's interesting. So, for example, the non-consecutive headers. So you know that you should always have a consecutive header. So H1, H2 need to come after an H1. You don't want to create an H3, a header 3, when the previous header was an H1. It would be a gap, a difference of level between the headers, and they need to be consecutive. But there is no way to see it from the structure, no? So if I set this one as an H1, and this was as an H3, okay, and for example, this was as an H4, there is no way to see them. Of course, you can show the tags, which see this was an H1, an H3, and H4, but it's not really clear if you have a lot of items inside the structure, which one is consecutive and which one is not. And you can just open the open structure and click on non-consecutive headers, and you see this heading is non-consecutive. That means that if you click on it, it's an H3, and the one before was an H1, so I have to put an H2 here. Let's open it again. And you see now this one is not a consecutive header anymore. So let's click here, and you see that H4 comes after H2 now, so I need to set it as an H3, for example. And now if I reopen my structure, all my headers are consecutive because I have no highlights here. So it's really important for SEO reason, for basic HTML reason, for accessibility, I believe. And this is the only way, the first time I see it integrated in the builder, so it's really new. The same thing goes with links, but without the rel attributes inserted. So we have no links for now, but let's make it one. I don't know if I can create an external URL. I won't compile the rel attribute, but if I open my structure here, you see that my heading now has no rel attribute set. I can open it and see my attribute. Now I may make test and reopen it again, and it won't change. It won't see this one. Element with links but with no title attribute. Again, title attribute is a good way for CEO to see the meaning of the title. So you probably want to insert a title to your links, and this will show that my heading has no title and I need to put one. Okay. The same thing goes to accessibility. Elements with links but with no ARIA label set. This one, of course, I didn't set an ARIA label, and this is empty. And if I insert some value, it will be not show again. Element that contain ARIA in at least one attribute. So if you are going to insert the ARIA attributes, there is a little mess here. Not sure what happened. Did I change something somewhere? Probably. Let's just refresh. Probably messed with some CSS. Okay. Okay. See, yes. If you are going to create attributes for your ARIA label, for example, and let's say always test for now. Well, doesn't matter. Reopen my structure and click elements with at least with no ARIA label set. Okay, sorry, with links, but we already did this. The element that contains ARIA in at least one attribute. So you can see where you set an ARIA attribute inside your structure. Okay, the same goes for performance. So the lazy loading elements. So that's for the images. Let's create an image here, and the lazy option are usually set here. So if I set lazy and reopen my structure helper, my lazy loading will see here, and also the eager loading elements. Eager, I don't know what to say in English. And also the element with static colors. We have none right now, but if I go here and say typography and set a color like this. Oh, but I'm sorry. Let's make it on the ID level. Okay, this is a static color. This is not a variable. Let's reopen it. And now my elements with static colors is here, my heading, and this is a one. I probably want to change with a global variable that I just created in my color manager, maybe. Okay. So that's the structure panel. Of course, if you hover on the little help icon, you will probably have more information about each one of them. But keep in mind that it's useful to refilter your structure and see what's going on. And I probably am going to add more stuff to this, because I think it's really useful on a SEO point of view, on a performance point of view, an accessibility point of view, and on your general management of styles. There are a lot that can go here, and just one click and you can filter the elements that are possible problems. There will be, of course, false positive and false negative, but it's a good way for you to quickly check what's going on your website. Okay, going to move on. Already 1 hour. Congratulations to the people that are still following this video, but there are still a lot to cover. So, but these one are the longest one. So now, really easy stuff. The class manager shortcut. Let's go in the builder tweaks. I believe it's in elements and class manager shortcut that can be enabled here. Save settings and reload. This is a shortcut inside the element panel to open the class in the class manager. So if I go to expertise 1, I have this expertise activated. So now I have this new icon, which is show class in manager. You see that if I have no class activated, I don't see this icon, so it's active only when a class is activated. And if I click on show class in manager, you'll see that my expertise class will be, I don't know, by the way, why I created this double expertise, but it's okay. Oh, because my my parent was expertise, right? So if I click on it, I can quickly select my class inside the manager, and it will, by the way, let's say the grid 3, which, okay, I want to show you that if we had, a grid 3 here, I'm going to select it and open the manager. It will automatically also activate the category inside the class manager corresponding to the category assigned to the current class. Okay. Anyway, this is a quick way to open your class inside the manager. By the way, a new feature is the ability to insert a description for the class. So let's say this class allow you creates 3 curl grids. Okay. And so if you change class and you want to come back to it and you don't remember what is the function of this class, you can write a little description, for example, where it's used, how it's used, and a lot of stuff. This is cool for your management. Okay, this is a class shortcut. Import enable structure panel. CSS shortcut. Okay. The keyboard shortcode also is quite long, but I'm going to cover it now. Let's go back in the CSS. Let's get rid of these grids and let's go on the ID level. There was a bug from the last Bricks version that constrained me to redo the SuperPower CSS field control from scratch. So I worked a lot on this. It's a totally new field, even if it looked like the old one. But this one is totally custom. And there are some things going on here. So I'm not sure I covered in the previous video, so I will do this. We have all these new icons here. The first one is an icon to add roots and easily position the cursor inside the brackets. Okay, so if you want to click, instead of writing them, you can just click root and we create roots. Another thing is the component selector. So let's say we are on expertise right here, and I want to create CSS rules for all the elements that are inside my component. I just can click on Add Component Selectors, and you see all the classes are added using the roots. How to say what is a root? This is a kind of shortcut, and it also correctly putting all my classes, and I can just start styling from here if I can type. Okay, and this is a new feature from SuperPower CSS. The other one is beautify. So if I do class and I do things like this, color, red, background, green, which is really ugly to see, you can just click beautify CSS and it will indent correctly my code. There is a new option here in 2.1, which is hide the shortcuts. I am going to review the shortcut, which is really cool. But some people wanted a full size editor. So if you click on it, it will hide the shortcuts cheat sheet, and you can have all this hate to write your CSS. And now let's go to the shortcut. The first one that probably it's not written here, but you can now comment your code by hitting Command Shift and 7, and it will comment your code, the one that is selected. So if I just want to comment background, for example, oops, no, I didn't wanted this. Sorry. Comment background, it will comment only the background row. Okay, great. But there are a lot of new shortcuts. So basically, it works like the shortcut from Bricks. The shortcut from Bricks is to write R and make tab, and it will create root. Okay, this is the only shortcut from Bricks. Now let's review the one from Advanced Themer. If I make R uppercase and tab, it will create root, but it will also will create the brackets and put your cursor in the middle of the brackets just by using the R uppercase. Now if I want to style the overstate, I just make RH tab, and it will create root and over. And like all the I won't redo it all over and over, because once you understand it, if you hit R uppercase and H and make tab, like before, it will create the roots double dot over, but it will also create the bracket and put the cursor. So if you start your shortcut from R uppercase, it will create the brackets, right? And this works for RH over AB before, RA after, RF focus, and let's make first child RCF first child, RCL last child, RC which is no RC pure argument. Oh, it is let's make this the RC is the number of child. So if I want to say nth child 5, I will make RC5 tab, and this is correctly created. RTF is first child of type, RTL is last type of type, RTL and let's say 9, no sorry, RT9 tab, it will be nth of type this time. Okay, and finally the media queries. So if I want to create a media queries from the breakpoint 992 and make tab, it will create my media declaration. And if I create, you see that there is no root. If I want to insert root inside, I just need to make Q as uppercase and 992. And now I have my media declaration. I need to insert the unit. So it's Q992 pixel, or let's say 30 rem. Okay, and it recreates my media with my width 30 rem and my roots and my cursor correctly applied inside my brackets. So Q come, I already explained. The only thing I want to say is, it's using max width, because now my breakpoint is a desktop breakpoint. But now if I change, I don't know, it's my base breakpoint. If I change mobile here and I use base breakpoint as mobile, and update, okay, And now if I create Q1992 pixel and make this, it will use the minimum width because you are in mobile first. Okay, I think it's a good overview of everything. Sorry, I want to change my base breakpoint updates. Okay. I think the keyboard is pretty straightforward. You have the list to just refer to what I've just showed you, but this will spare you a lot of time too. Element CSS Shortcut, so this is really basic. Let's go here. Always in Elements, the Builder Tricks Elements, if you go Enable Element CSS Shortcut, save settings, and reload. You see now, if we click on an element, you have a new shortcut, Element CSS. If we click on it, it will open the CSS, just like this tab here. So, and if I say roots and say color red, see that if you created a value, you will have an indicator that this element has custom CSS in it. Okay, some people ask it on the top rather than in the sidebar, which is perfectly fine, and this one is here. Okay, the expand spacing controls, really quick. It's always in element, expand spacing control, and you can decide if you want it as default. We will say yes for now. Save settings and reload. Let's open and go to layouts, and you see there is a new expanded version of the margin of the padding and in general the spacing controls. You have now a lot more space to write your variables, even if they are super long, like this one for example. And you have here a little icon next to the link unlinked option. You have expand field. If you click on it, it will go back at the normal view, and you can just switch from one to another. So on the normal one, you see just preset font, and it just clicked on here. You have to slide with the cursor, just not really friendly. And if you expand the field, you just see really well the variable. If you click on this one, it will expand. So the left and the right control are expanding on focus. So if I say test 1 here and test 2 here, you see that it expands on focus, but just come back as usual here. Okay, this is an option to read your spacing control better if you use variables and calculation function and things like that. Come back to the changelogs, the variable manager, advanced CSS improved, I talked about it, the variable picker, I talked about it, the comments and the description. Okay, I believe I covered probably everything. No, probably I missed something. It's sure that I missed a lot of things because there are improvements in lots of areas. It's generally, I think, a better version of Advanced Themer in a lot of different areas, but I wanted to highlight this one at least. And probably if I had to cover everything in this version, I would need 1 hour more just to speak about everything. And yeah, I think it's a really important release. if I hadn't released the 2.0 the last months, this one would be probably a 3.0. It just doesn't make sense to make every month a 2 or 3 or 4. So it's 2.1, but it's really rich release. And of course, it has been tested. But if you face some issue, don't hesitate to contact the support, and I predict that there will probably be a couple of version released in the next days or weeks, just to fix something, because it's a big release. But I think there are a lot of important stuff here going on. The CSS Variable Manager, it's a game changer for me, and the version 2 of the Color Manager is becoming really strong, and yeah, the helper, the shortcuts, all the tricks inside Builder. It's a pretty good release. So I hope you enjoy it, and let me know if you used it, or did you found the tricks, the new features. Leave a comment below, and we'll catch you in the next release. Goodbye, everyone.